rang at Pine Grove Middle School, someone was already hard at work, not studying for a test, not practicing for a game, not even finishing homework. Hidden beneath the old oak tree near the front of the school sat Dakota Miles, quietly filling the pages of a worn sketchbook. Every pencil stroke told part of an incredible story from the Bible. It was the best work she'd ever created, and she hoped no one would ever see it. Morning had always been Dakota's favorite time at Pine Grove. Before the hallways filled with laughter and lockers slammed shut, the campus felt peaceful. It was the perfect time to draw. Inside Dakota's sketchbook lived something she had spent weeks creating, a beautiful retelling of Queen Esther's story. Every page reminded her that God could use ordinary people to do extraordinary things. But there was one problem. Dakota wasn't sure anyone else would understand why it mattered so much. Naomi walks up to Dakota, her portfolio tucked under her arm. She stops in amazement.
Dakota, that looks incredible!
Dakota blushes. She quickly closes the sketchbook. Shh! Please don't say it so loud. Emma arrives. She smiles knowingly.
Still keeping your secret?
Nervously, Dakota answers. For now. Only 2 people knew what Dakota had been creating. Dakota didn't draw because she wanted attention. She drew because stories from the Bible had always filled her imagination. She loved imagining what it might have been like to stand beside Esther as she chose courage instead of fear. Maybe, just maybe, her own story wasn't so different. Dakota continues sketching as her friends kneel beside her. The school bell rings. Students begin walking toward the building. Students hurry through the hallways, talking about one thing: the annual talent showcase. Musicians were practicing, dancers were stretching, comedians were rehearsing jokes. Everyone seemed excited to show off what they could do. Everyone except Dakota. As she looked at the colorful posters hanging in the hallways, one question echoed in her mind. What if people laugh at my story instead of listening to it? The hallways were busy. Students were gathering around the colorful talent showcase posters, signing their names one by one. Tyrus walked over after football conditioning with a football tucked under one arm.
Looks like half the school's signing up.
Ethan joins him.
If competitive snack eating is a talent, I've got a real chance.
Dallas laughs hysterically.
You'd win before lunchtime?
Across the hallway, Dakota quietly looked at that talent showcase poster. Her hand slipped into her backpack and gently rested on her sketchbook. Behind her, Madison notices Dakota staring at the poster on the wall. Sometimes the biggest battles happen where no one else can see them. Dakota watched as Madison Blake walked straight toward her. Her heart began to race. Madison was one of the most popular students at Pine Grove. If she thought Dakota's project was silly, others might think the same thing. Dakota tightened her grip on her backpack. Maybe keeping her secret really was the safer choice. But deep inside, another thought quietly whispered, what if God gave me this story to share? Madison approached Dakota while Chloe and Maya walked beside her.
You saw her look, and you saw her look. So, are you signing up?
Dakota smiles nervously. One hand still rests protectively on her backpack. I was just looking.
So she's just looking ya?
Yeah,
I
is.
think she's scared too. I hope you enter. I like seeing everyone's ideas.
Emma notices from down the hallway the discomfort in her friend's face.
So, what's your talent?
I gotta go to art class. I'll see you later.
Sometimes one simple question can feel bigger than the answer. Dakota finally managed an uncomfortable smile. She wasn't ready to tell everyone her secret, but she wasn't ready to give up either. Dakota walks quietly, and Emma falls into step beside her. They continue toward the art classroom.
You don't have to impress everyone.
You only have to be faithful.
Dakota looks down thoughtfully.
Coach says courage isn't waiting until you're not scared. It's taking the first step anyway.
Dakota smiles at Tyrus.
I think that's harder than football.
You've clearly never seen me try to catch a pass in the rain.
Dakota's nervousness begins to fade. Dakota glances toward the art classroom and quietly smiles to herself as she fades inside of it. That afternoon, the art room became Dakota's favorite place in the whole school. It wasn't because it was quiet. It wasn't because it was filled with paints and pencils. It was because this was where her imagination could become something real. With Naomi beside her, Dakota carefully brought Queen Esther's story to life, one frame at a time. For a moment, everything seemed to be coming together perfectly. But sometimes, the biggest problems begin with the smallest warning. Naomi studied the finished illustrations with excitement.
That's amazing! Literally! That's King Xerxes, isn't it?
Emma steps into the classroom carrying 3 juice boxes. Dakota presses play again. The animation begins, then the monitor flickers. Dakota's smile slowly fades. It lasted less than a second, but Dakota couldn't shake the feeling that something wasn't right. She stared at the screen, then suddenly, it goes black. Dakota tried to convince herself it was only a tiny program glitch. After all, tablets froze sometimes. Programs crashed, screens flickered. But the uneasy feeling in her stomach refused to disappear. Naomi noticed it immediately. Good friends often notice what words try to hide. Dakota restarts the tablet while Naomi watches quietly. The animation begins playing perfectly again. Dakota exhales in relief. Maybe it was nothing.
I saved another copy earlier. I've learned that lesson the hard way.
Dakota laughs. You think of everything. The screen flickers once more. The image freezes for just a split second, and Dakota's smile disappears. The second warning was impossible to ignore. That night, Dakota couldn't stop thinking about the talent showcase. She wasn't worried about forgetting her lines. She wasn't worried about standing on a stage. She was worried about something much deeper. What if people thought sharing God's word wasn't worth watching? Then another thought quietly entered her mind. God never asked me to be impressive. He asked me to be faithful. Dakota continues working hard late into the night. She quietly prays before continuing, then gets back to it. The next thing she knows, morning sunlight begins to fill Dakota's bedroom. It's already time to get ready for school again. The next morning, the feeling of excitement rippled through the hallways. Students were making final preparations for the talent showcase. Costumes, music, practice routines, everyone seemed busy. Dakota tried to stay invisible, but someone had been paying closer attention than she realized. As students decorated the auditorium entrance, Dakota slipped by quietly and slid her sketchbook inside her backpack. Madison approached once again, this time alone.
I've been wondering, are you entering the showcase?
Dakota nods hesitantly. I think so.
I hope you do. It takes courage to share something you care about.
Madison smiles sincerely. Dakota looked surprised. Sometimes encouragement comes from the person you least expect. Dakota watches Madison walk away, unsure what to think. During lunch, Dakota slipped away to her favorite place beneath the old oak tree. She opened her Bible. Her eyes landed on words she had read many times before. The Lord does not look at the things people look at. She smiled. Maybe she'd been asking the wrong question all along. Instead of asking, will everyone like my animation? She began asking, will God be pleased that I trusted him? Dakota continued to read quietly as Emma sat beside her. I'll trust in him and his word. Will they like it?
I think you already know.
Dakota closes her Bible and stands with renewed confidence. By the end of the week, the whole school seemed to be counting down. Every hallway conversation eventually led back to one question. What are you doing for the talent showcase? Dakota still wasn't sure how everything would turn out, but she no longer wanted fear to make the decision for her.
If carrying lunch without dropping it were an event, I'd almost win.
Ethan balancing 3 cafeteria trays. Dallas laughs so hard she nearly spills her drink.
Almost.
Tyrus then joins in.
Champions don't quit because they're nervous. They play anyway.
Dakota smiles. Good friends don't remove fear. They remind us we're not facing it alone. Dakota slips by as another poster for the talent showcase is being placed up by Coach Reynolds. She quietly takes a deep breath and slips past. That evening, Dakota packed everything one final time. Her sketchbook, her drawing tablet, her laptop, her charging cable. She checked each item twice. Everything seemed ready. Tomorrow, she would finally share the story God had placed on her heart. She just didn't know one final surprise was still waiting. Talent Showcase Day had finally arrived. The school was pulsing with energy from the moment the first student walked through the front doors. Everywhere Dakota looked, someone was practicing. Musicians tuned instruments, dancers stretched backstage, friends rehearsed jokes one last time. Dakota smiled, but inside, butterflies fluttered harder than ever. Today wasn't about being the best performer. Today was about having the courage to share what God had placed on her heart. Students continued to carry instruments, costumes, props, and artwork toward the gym. Dakota walked toward the entrance with her backpack held close. The sketchbook peeked out from the zipper. Naomi catches up.
Today's the day.
I know. I just wish my stomach knew that.
When you're nervous, it just means you care.
Emma smiles warmly.
Before every big game, coach tells us something. Don't let fear call the next play.
Dakota quietly repeated those words to herself.
Don't let fear call the next play.
Dakota had practiced every word, every animation, every transition. She had checked her tablet again and again. Everything should have worked perfectly. But life doesn't always go according to our plans. Sometimes, God writes a better ending than the one we imagined. Dakota sets her stuff up carefully. Naomi and Emma beside her, helping get everything prepared. Dakota presses play one last time, and the tablet flickers once again. Dakota's heart sank. The screen froze. She clicked the buttons on the side. Nothing. She attempted to restart it. Still nothing. The room suddenly felt very quiet. Weeks of hard work gone in a single moment. Or so it seemed. Dakota pressed the buttons repeatedly. Mrs. Ridge kneeled down beside her. "We've got another minute if you'd like to restart." Dakota tried again. Nothing was working. Tears began filling Dakota's eyes. She lowered her head. Everything she'd prepared seemed to disappear. Emma quietly reached toward Dakota's backpack. Emma gently pulled the sketchbook from Dakota's bag, and she smiled. The animation might be gone, but the story wasn't. Sometimes God removes the things we depend on, so we'll discover what truly matters. She holds out the sketchbook to Dakota.
You still have this?
Dakota slowly looks up.
The drawings were never the important part.
Tyrus quietly steps closer.
Coach always says a good player adjusts.
Dakota hugs the sketchbook tightly, a determined feeling in her heart. I can still tell the story. Courage finally became stronger than fear. The announcer called Dakota's name.
Next up is 7th grader Dakota Miles.
The animation was gone. The perfect presentation had disappeared. But God's message hadn't changed. Neither had his purpose. With her sketchbook in her hands, Dakota stepped onto the stage. For the first time that day, she wasn't thinking about whether people would applaud. She was thinking about honoring the one who had given her the story. Dakota stood beneath the bright stage lights. The gymnasium was silent. She could still hear her heart pounding. Then she remembered the verse she had read beneath the old oak tree. The Lord does not look at the things people look at. She smiled, opened her sketchbook, and began. The audience leaned forward with curiosity, and Madison watched intently.
But Mordecai received no immediate reward for it. Enter Haman, a power-hungry royal official who was promoted to the highest rank in the kingdom. The king commanded all officials to bow down to Haman because of his faith. Mordecai refused. Engaged by this
The audience
disrespect,
stopped
Haman
thinking
didn't
about what
just
they
want
were
to punish
watching
Mordecai,
and
he
started
manipulated the
listening to what
king
God
into
was
signing
saying.
a decree ordering the complete extermination of all Jewish people in the empire. Esther was terrified. In ancient Persia, walking into the king's inner court uninvited was a crime punishable by death, unless the king chose to extend his golden scepter. Mordecai responded with a challenge that changed everything. Who knows but that you have come to your royal position for such a time as this? Knowing the risk, Esther showed incredible bravery. She asked all the Jews in the city to fast and pray for 3 days and declared, "If I perish, I perish."
Every page pointed beyond Dakota to God's faithfulness. Then one pair of hands began to clap, another joined, then another. Before long, the entire auditorium erupted into applause. Dakota hadn't stood on that stage to earn approval. She had simply trusted God with the gift he had given her, and somehow that made all the difference. Dakota lowered her sketchbook, her friends cheering. After the showcase ended, students filled the auditorium with excited conversations. The talent show participants sat and chatted while the teachers walked on stage to begin the awards presentation. But one conversation mattered more than all the others. Madison quietly walked over to sit next to Dakota, not because she had to, but because she wanted to.
I was wrong. I thought you were making something little. It turned out to be something really important.
Thanks. I'm glad you liked it.
Kindness has a way of opening hearts. Mrs. Ridge smiled as she opened the final envelope. The award wasn't simply for great artwork or creative storytelling. It honored courage. She announced the special recognition. This year's Courage through Creativity Award goes to Dakota Miles. Dakota walked forward as the audience applauded once again. But the greatest reward wasn't the certificate she received. It was knowing she had trusted God when fear told her not to. Sometimes, the most beautiful stories aren't the ones we create. They're the ones God writes through our lives.
When the floor gives way and the day goes wrong, I'm still here, still breathing, still singing this song.
Have you ever worried about what other people might think of you? Maybe you've been afraid to share your faith, use your talents, or simply be yourself because you thought someone might laugh. I discovered something important. The people around us may notice our appearance, our mistakes, or whether everything goes according to plan, but God sees something much deeper. He sees our hearts when we choose to honor Him. Even if we're nervous, even if things don't go perfectly, He can use our faithfulness in ways we never expected. This week, ask yourself, what gift has God given me that I've been afraid to share? Then ask Him for the courage to use it for His glory.
Teach me your word today,